LEGO's been hiding secret features in their sets for decades, and most people have no idea what they are. From hidden compartments that only the designers know about, to building techniques that unlock entirely new ways to build. In this video, you're gonna see some insane stuff that you had no idea LEGO could do. But let's start with a brick separator, because most people think it's just for pulling bricks apart, but it can do way more than that. Obviously, its main function is to separate bricks, but did you know you can use it to put stickers on straight? If you put the sticker on the tip of the handle and slowly apply it, it goes on straighter than it ever would if you used your fingers. So the next time you have to put a sticker on, just use the brick separator. If you thought that was cool though, let me show you something about minifigures that's gonna blow your mind. You know how minifigure hands have that little wrist on them so they can go inside the arm? Well, that wrist is the exact same size as the hip socket on a minifigure's legs. So you can literally connect a minifigure's hand directly into another minifigure's hip, and it makes a surprisingly strong connection. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would I ever need to do this? And honestly, I don't know. But the fact that it works is pretty cool. People use this technique to make custom poses, like making weird minifigure towers where they're all connected hand to hip. But it's one of those hidden connections that LEGO definitely designed on purpose, but never really told anyone about. Now, if you've ever built a Technic set, you've probably noticed how precise everything is. Like the holes always line up perfectly, the gears always mesh together, and nothing ever feels off by even a millimeter. Well, there's actually a reason for that, and it's because of something called modules. One LEGO module is the distance from the center of one stud to the center of the next stud, and it's exactly 8 millimeters. Every single Technic piece is designed using this measurement, which is why everything fits together so perfectly. Once you know about this, you start to realize just how much thought LEGO puts into making sure every single piece works with every other piece, even ones that came out 20 years apart. All of these techniques are sick, but now let's talk about hidden features in actual LEGO sets, starting with one of the coolest modular buildings ever made, the detective's office. This set has a secret storage compartment hidden behind a picture frame on the wall, and you can actually open it up and store stuff inside of it. This is one of those features that's super easy to miss if you're not paying attention while you're building, but once you know it's there, it makes the set so much better. But the detective's office isn't the only modular building with a hidden feature. The brick bank has one of the funniest play features LEGO's ever made, and it has to do with money laundering. The set has a laundromat on the first floor that's connected to a vault. There are 4 machines in total, but one of them is red while the other 3 are blue. That red piece is there to let people know that that machine is out of order, but that's actually a lie. Whoever owns this place is using that machine to launder money into the safe. When you put a piece into that machine, it comes out on the other side and goes right into the vault. So not only is this a perfect representation of money laundering, but it's a play on words too, because to launder money, you have to make sure it's clean first. Get it? Clean, washing machine. Anyways, clearly LEGO goes pretty hard for their modular building sets. So let's look at another one, the Natural History Museum. In this set, there's a minifigure of a window washer hanging off the side of the building, and that minifigure is actually based on the guy who designed the set, Chris McVie. He literally put himself into the set as a minifigure, which is such a cool way to sign your work. Most people would never notice this unless someone told them, but now that you know about it, it's a cool fact you can tell your friends. This isn't even the only set Chris has put himself into though, because he's also in the police station set from the modular buildings theme. In the LEGO world, the police station has a donut thief. We can see who it is from a picture on LEGO's website, and if we look at this picture of Chris from the instructions, there's no doubt about it. It's definitely him. Cool features like these aren't just in modern LEGO sets though. LEGO's been hiding secret features in their builds for decades. Nothing quite like a minifigure cameo, but they're still there. A lot of the classic sets from the 80s and 90s have hidden trap doors built into them. The fire-breathing fortress has one that drops enemies into a dungeon with a dragon inside of it. Features like this were way ahead of their time, and they're a big reason why people still love these old castle sets. So of course, LEGO had to keep it going in the Lion Knights castle set from 2022. This set has a million different details I could talk about, but I just want to focus on one. The set is made up of 2 giant builds put together, and when you take them apart, you can find a secret room at the bottom of it. This is already pretty sick, but this secret room can actually be accessed from a few different points. The first one is a food stand that's secretly a trap door. Once you see it move, you notice the hinges on the ground, but if you didn't know about it, it would actually blend in really well. The second access point is a cave that leads to water at the bridge of the castle. When the 2 giant builds are connected, the cave and the room are right next to each other, so it's a perfect pathway. If you're making your own build though, and want to add some cool features, these next few techniques will help you out a lot. If you want to make a sliding door or a secret drawer, the key is using tiles. Since they don't have any studs on top, they have no clutch power, which means they can slide really smoothly against other pieces. So if you build a drawer or a door using tiles, it'll open and close way easier than if you used regular bricks. There's actually a perfect example of this in the LEGO Minecraft Skeleton Dungeon set. The only reason the skeleton spawner in the corner is so smooth is because there are only tiles around it. If they used plates instead, it probably wouldn't even work. Another technique that's super useful is using hinged plates to create opening walls. If you've ever seen a modular building that opens up to show the interior, like the one in the Lion Knight's castle, odds are it's using hinged plates. You can attach them to the side of a build, and then the entire wall will swing open like a door. This is one of those techniques that seems complicated at first, but once you try it, you'll realize it's actually really simple, and it makes your build so much more functional. But what if you want to make something posable, like a dragon or a robot? Well, the secret is using Technic ball joints. These pieces can create movable arms, legs, and pretty much any other articulated feature you can think of. The ball joints give you way more freedom than regular hinges, and they're strong enough to hold their position even when you're moving the build around. This is one of those techniques that separates beginner MOC builders from advanced ones. So if you're trying to level up your building skills, definitely start experimenting with ball joints. Okay, this next technique might be a little illegal, but it's genuinely so underrated. LEGO makes this stuff called FlexTube, and you can do some pretty crazy stuff with it. A guy named Will F. posted an article on Brick Nerd in 2021 showing just how capable this tube really is, and it's really surprising. Will was making a trolley, and on the bottom, he put minifigure hands inside FlexTube to stretch them across the width of the trolley. This is some real brainiac stuff, but there's still more. Will came up with a way to make a double-sided plate piece using FlexTube, and this is where the possibly illegal stuff comes in. He took an X-Acto knife and cut the flex tube to some very specific measurements. Then he put it in the backside of a plate piece and connected another plate to it. Now, is this illegal? We don't really know, but one thing's for sure, it's sick. Alright, let's get back to hidden features and actual sets, because I know we all love those. The Christmas Penguin set has a secret snowflake hidden in the base of the build that you'd never even know was there unless you built the set yourself. It doesn't serve any purpose, it's just there to look cool, and honestly, that's what makes it so special. LEGO could have just made the base solid, but instead, they added this little detail that most people will never see. It's stuff like this that makes you realize just how much LEGO cares about their designs. Another set with a hidden feature is Ragana's Magic Shadow Castle from the Elves theme. The front of the set has these giant doors with a walkway leading up to it, and if you put a minifigure on the walkway and just move it forward, it slides forward and the doors open up with it. But if you want a set that's all about secret compartments, the Dot's secret holder was basically made for that. The cat-shaped holder has 2 secret compartments hidden in the body, so you can store jewelry, candy, or whatever else you want to keep safe. The best part is that the compartments are actually pretty hard to find if you don't know where to look, so it works as a legit hiding spot. This next secret compartment isn't as useful for stuff in real life, but if you want to hide some golden LEGO coins, it's perfect for that. It's in the King Leo's Castle set from the year 2000, and along with booby traps, chest catapults, and gate droppers, there's a secret stash hidden under the king's throne. All you have to do is pull it back, and it'll flip up to reveal a very well-hidden piggy bank. It's only right that the king has a hiding spot for all his valuables, and what better place to hide it than somewhere only the king can go? LEGO really likes using this trap door feature with chairs, because it's also in the LEGO Harry Potter Hogwarts Castle set from 2001. If you go over to Professor Dumbledore's chair, you can flip it up and find a secret storage compartment underneath it, just like the one from King Leo's castle. I'm sure Dumbledore has a bunch of stuff he wants to keep secret, so this is perfect for him. Another Harry Potter set with a cool feature like this is the Hogwarts Express from 2023, and it has a really tasteful play feature hiding on the boarding platform. To get to platform 9 3/4, you have to run through a wall that isn't really a wall. It's one of the most well-known things in Harry Potter, and it's actually recreated in this set. Obviously, LEGO can't make a fake wall, so instead they made one that flips up when you push on it. Clearly, LEGO really likes using this flip technique, because there's another one in the Treasure Island set from LEGO Pirates. This one is literally staring you right in the face, but it's still a little hard to put together. If you push down on the palm tree on the right, the skull turns into a giant gate and flips upward. Once you know it's there, it's really obvious, but if you don't know about it, it's not the easiest thing to spot. Okay, wow, that was a lot of hidden stuff in sets. So now, let me show you some pieces you can use as tools while you build. There's a piece called the spanner wrench that only comes in certain sets, and it can actually be used as a tile remover. So it's basically a mini brick separator that your minifigures can hold. I don't know if LEGO designed it like this on purpose, but it works surprisingly well. If you want something more precise though, the dot sets come with 3 different tile removing tools, including 2 that are shaped like keys. These tools are designed for tile surgery, which means you can remove individual tiles without messing with any of the ones around them. If you've ever tried to fix one tile in a sea of tiles, you know how frustrating it can be to remove just one without messing up the rest. So these tools are genuinely game-changing. This next technique technically doesn't use LEGO pieces, but it works perfectly with LEGO. A lot of MOC builders use regular rubber bands inside their builds to make spring-loaded trap doors and other mechanisms. The rubber bands create tension, so when you release the mechanism, it snaps back into place automatically. This is one of those techniques that feels like cheating, but LEGO themselves have actually used it before. In the LEGO Star Wars X-Wing set from 2012, there's a knob on the back that controls the tension of 2 different rubber bands. It's used to change the X-Wing from regular mode to fighting mode, so it really is a good technique. But now, I have to show you how half-asleep Chris automated his breakfast with a LEGO train and a Rube Goldberg machine. There's a lot going on here, so I'll try and make it quick. First, the train hits an orange, which knocks over some dominoes, which pushes a ball down this track. Then the ball moves a weight, which launches an RC car at the top that hits a different ball onto a different track. Then the ball rolls into a cup, which pulls another cup up and knocks a marble down a windy track. Then the marble hits another ball that hits a toy car with scissors on it that cuts a string to move the shoe, which hits another toy car with a pencil on it that pops a balloon that moves a marble down a track and starts filling up the cup with orange juice. Okay, what now? Oh, right. Then some marbles fall into a cup, which moves a string that lets lentils fall into a crate that eventually weighs enough to pick up the crate of oranges at the bottom so the train can keep moving. Once it does, it hits a marble down a pipe and into a CD player that does this.
Hey Siri, call half asleep Chris.
Calling half asleep Chris.
You've reached the voicemail of half asleep Chris. Okay Google, do I have any events today?
There's one entry for today. At 6 p.m., you have Alexa, turn on Feed Me Cereal.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy? All of that just so cereal could be dropped into the bowl. But it isn't over yet. Alexa also turns on a pump so the bucket of water can empty itself out and be pulled out of the way. Then the train makes its way to the last stop, the milk machine. You see, the whole time, there was an alarm clock that runs away when it rings, propped up against a weight. So when the alarm clock goes off, it pushes the weight off the table, dumps the cow over, and pours milk into the bowl. Literally everything had to be perfect. So it's no wonder it took 34 tries. You might be thinking that this is the best LEGO invention ever. And you're probably right, but one of the best contenders has to be this working LEGO guitar. It has all the necessary parts of a real guitar, but those parts are all built around a LEGO base. This was made by a guy named Alec, who's part of the Master Builders. So combine these real guitar parts with a guy who really knows LEGO, and you get a LEGO guitar that you can actually play. Before this though, he had to build a prototype just to make sure he could really do it. It was made out of 100% LEGO, even the strings, unlike the one that can be played. But after Alec made this prototype, he knew making a playable one was very possible for him. But you don't need to be a master builder to make a crazy invention out of LEGO, because David was able to make himself a bunch of different prosthetic arms with LEGO Technic all before the age of 20. He built his very first one when he was just 9 years old, so it's no wonder he went on to study engineering in Barcelona in university. But at 10 years old, he was able to build a LEGO arm around his body so that he could actually use it, and from there, the floodgates were wide open. He got so good at making LEGO arms for himself that he was able to do a push-up with all of his body weight using one of the arms he made. This is by far one of the coolest ways I've seen someone use LEGO. But did you know someone made a machine that can fold your t-shirts for you? This one was made by Professor Bricks on YouTube, who specializes in LEGO robotics. And what's the best way to use some crazy knowledge like this? Making your life way easier, obviously. Folding laundry is super boring, so instead, you can buy the instructions for this machine and a bunch of others for $50, put your t-shirt on it, hit the button, and watch the magic happen. Speaking of magic buttons, this insane brick sorter is packed full of them, and it all starts with this train. All you have to do is hit a few buttons to load the train up with bricks, then send it off to the next station. After that, you hit a few more buttons, and this is where the sorting begins. All of the bricks get carried up by this elevator. Then they get thrown into the sorter, which sorts every piece by size. This is definitely one of the best ways to sort Lego pieces, because as you can see, everything is grouped really well. I especially like that this brick sorter was made more for fun instead of practicality. The train and all the buttons makes it way more interactive, while still saving you time so you don't have to sort your bricks yourself. If we're gonna talk about fun though, then I have to show you this Mandalorian armor made entirely out of Lego. This was literally made by some random dude on Reddit, which goes to show how creative Lego fans really are. Now, I'm not 100% sure how good the armor is. Like, I don't think it's stopping a hammer or anything. That's a job for someone like Brick Science, who actually made a video on this exact topic not too long ago. Him and his friend had a competition to see who could build the best armor to defend against different Lego weapons, and his friends actually turned out to be really good. It could take quite a few hits from the sledgehammer, but I can't say the same for Brick Science. Sorry, bro. Not every invention is meant to be an absolute success. Like, this next one is actually supposed to be a failure. Kind of. Have you ever heard of a useless machine? They're basically machines that are only made to be able to turn themselves off. It's quite literally their only purpose. The most well-known ones were made by a guy named Marvin Minsky, but the world of useless machines has grown a lot since his time. These days, we have one made out of Lego, built by JK Brickworks, and it's just as ironic as it's supposed to be. Jason flips the switch on the machine to turn it on, and just as he's about to leave the room, it pops up and flips it back off. The two go on like this for way longer than they should have, but I guess that's the entire point. By far, one of the coolest Lego robots I've ever seen, though, is the Lego dog, made to rival the one from Boston Dynamics. Honestly, I never even understood why these were a thing, so these dogs and the useless machine are pretty much in the same boat in my head. But for a Lego robot dog, it's actually pretty good. It can walk, run, and even hit a little dance move too. But it can also see when objects are in its way, so it doesn't walk into them, which is super sick. If for some reason none of that impresses you, and you just want an RC Lego dog, you can control it yourself with the remote. Considering only one person made it though, I'd say it's pretty good competition for the one from Boston Dynamics. Let's step away from all these safe inventions for a minute though, and look at this insanely dangerous Lego table saw. This thing was made entirely out of Lego Technic pieces, and the saw is the actual saw piece from Lego, which is super sick. With an RPM of 4,350, it was able to cut through paper, cardboard, and even a carrot, which is unbelievably dangerous. Just so you know, when people test the trunk of their car to see if their finger would get crushed, they use a carrot. So if you put your finger through this Lego table saw, odds are it'll get cut clean off. Beyond that though, it was also able to cut a cucumber, a COVID mask, and a piece of carpet before failing on a piece of wood. Would you believe me that the same guy also made a working Lego crushing machine? Well, probably. I mean, who else do you know that's making a Lego table saw that can cut your finger off? The way this crushing machine works is something getting dropped on either side of it, and the 20 motors powering the tracks shoving the item into a super hard Lego piece over and over until it's completely crushed. And this thing must have been really well built, because it crushed almost everything that got thrown into it. It worked on a hard-boiled egg, a cookie, an uncooked Brussels sprout, which is basically a rock, and a raw sausage before failing on a raw carrot. I mean, this thing is seriously dangerous. In my opinion, the best way to use all these RPMs and motor power would be in a Lego car, and that's exactly what Project Air on YouTube was able to do. Now, you'd think you could just load up a Technic car with a bunch of motors and call it a day, but not only are Lego motors way too weak to make a car go fast, but by the time you have enough on there, the car would weigh way too much and wouldn't be able to pick up any speed. So what's the solution? Well, you need a sleek, aerodynamic, lightweight car powered by a microjet turbine? Yup, that's right. Project Air took an engine from a microjet and used it to power a Lego car. Just for reference, this singular motor is 310 times stronger than a Lego motor. So it's definitely got what it takes to make a car go fast. But unfortunately, Lego pieces just aren't made to handle this type of power. The car was only able to handle 20% of the motor's power, which did make it go 26 miles per hour without crashing. But once it got bumped up to 30%, the car wiped out and was pretty much destroyed. Luckily for us, cars aren't the only fun vehicles you can make with Lego. You can also make a tank, and the one made by the Brick Experiment channel is one of the best ones by far. It uses 1,000 1,300 Lego parts and only 4 non-Lego parts. But this thing isn't cool because of the parts, or even how it looks. It's cool because you can control this thing with a PS4 controller, but on top of that, it even has a turret mounted on it, which you can also control with the PS4 controller. It's a super strong mechanism from one of their older videos, and it can easily break and knock down Lego bricks from short or far distances. Let's get out of the danger zone though, so I can show you one of the coolest inventions in this video by far. This Lego claw machine made by Brick Science. This thing is over 6 feet tall and works just like a real claw machine. Once you put in the money, $5 is crazy by the way, you can control the claw with the joystick and send it to pick something up with the green button. And surprisingly enough, it actually wasn't rigged. Out of the 3 people who tried it out, one of them was able to win something. So this thing could probably be used in a real arcade. I don't think anyone's paying $5 to play, but I guess someone's gotta pay for all those bricks. Anyways, up next is by far one of the best sorters I've ever seen, but it wasn't even made to sort Lego. Instead, it was made for candy. Now, I gotta say, I have absolutely no idea how you're supposed to code sensors so they know what color things are, but Brick Machines was able to figure it out. Not only that, but he also made this sorter have a pack and ship system that infinitely loops. Basically, a box rolls up on the candy and a random amount of pieces for every color gets dropped into the box. After that, the box gets quote-unquote shipped out, but the candy goes back up to the sorter so it can do that infinite loop. Also, I have no idea how bro was able to make it so each order was random. I mean, this is way above my skill level, but all that does is make it cooler. Another machine that boggles my mind is this Lego printer. I mean, this thing is genuinely insane. JK Brickworks was basically able to make an entire rig that not only holds a pen, but writes readable words on a sheet of paper, all using Lego. He even used an EV3 piece from the Lego Mindstorms theme to code it, which almost nobody does. The only downside is that if you want to print something different, you have to program it into the machine and basically build up a giant library. But that doesn't take away from how genuinely sick this is. Anyways, another insanely cool way you can use Lego is to make a card shuffler, and the one Grumo made on YouTube is the perfect example. All you have to do is load the cards into each side of the shuffler. Then not only will it mix them up, but it'll also deal them out to whoever is playing. You can use a remote to control it, or the buttons that are generated into the build. You can use these to stop and start the shuffling and the dealing, so it'd be really convenient for poker night if you don't trust your friend to shuffle. Now, none of these inventions have been actual Lego products, so for the next one, I want to show you one that is. These are Lego Braille bricks, and they're exactly what they sound like. We all know that Lego wants everyone to be able to enjoy playing with their bricks, and they didn't want to let blindness get in the way of that. So as a result, they made bricks with Braille on them. The goal with these bricks was to be able to teach blind children how to read Braille in a new and fun way. But let's move on to something more fun. Did you know that one singular Lego brick can take up to 950 pounds of force? That's the answer Google will tell you. But if that's not enough, check out what the Hydraulic Press YouTube channel did 6 years ago. The press starts putting weight on the brick, and as the number goes up, it literally doesn't move. It wasn't until around 390 kilograms or 860 pounds that the studs finally got pushed in. From here, it was only a matter of time until the brick got crushed, but that didn't happen until 1,600 pounds of force were being pressed down onto it. So I guess depending on the brick, Lego bricks can actually withstand way more than 950 pounds. But what about minifigures? Obviously, we know that bricks are strong, but can minifigures take as much damage as bricks? There are loads of videos on YouTube where people destroy minifigures in hundreds of different ways. They use firecrackers, saws, blenders, and they even send them into space. But one of the coolest ways I've seen a minifigure get put to the test was when TD Bricks literally shot one with a bullet. By the way, do not try this at home. He started out by using this super small silver bullet, and after shooting the minifigure a few times, it was obvious that it was completely done for, but it was time to step it up a notch. Next, he lined up 30 layers of bricks and shot it with a pistol. Unfortunately, bros got bad aim, but the bricks still completely exploded when they got hit with the bullet. The last test he did was shooting the giant brick-built minifigure, and this guy had no idea what was coming his way. TD shot him 3 times, and it's safe to say there's no way he survived that. It's crazy what can happen to Lego pieces when you really put them to the test. The next one I want to show you is this insane floating Lego train made by Monty4S on YouTube. Good thing Monty let us know in the title that he did this with magnets, because if he didn't, I don't think I ever would have figured it out. The reason this is even possible is because every magnet has a north pole and a south pole. Opposite poles stick together, but matching poles completely repel against each other. So if you have a magnetic track with the North Pole facing upwards and a bunch of magnets in a Lego train with the North Pole facing downwards, then the magnets would repel against each other and you'd end up with a floating train. If you're still not convinced this experiment is even real, Monty made sure to show us in a bunch of different ways just how real this floating train is. He let the train ride over a pencil, then he let it go in between some circular paper, then he even pressed down on the train to show the magnets working their magic. No matter how you look at it, this experiment is 100% real. This next experiment, though, is far from magical. It's just straight destruction. For this one, I want to show you what happens when you shoot 3,000 Lego bricks with the world's biggest elephant gun. Spoiler alert, the bricks didn't stand a chance. Performed by Kentucky Ballistics on YouTube, this is another one that you should absolutely never try at home. Just look at the rounds he used for this gun. They're literally as big as his hand. Like I said before, these bricks were no match for a gun like this. The first shot was fired at the side of the build, and look how crazy this is with the slow-mo shot. But that wasn't enough for Kentucky. He wanted to see these bricks really explode, so this time he shot it from the front. It's safe to say he got exactly what he was looking for. The bullet went clean through the bricks, and a ton of them exploded out of the back. As cool as these dangerous experiments are, let me show you one that's way safer, but just as cool. The fastest Lego Bugatti. 6 years ago, the YouTube channel Donut got gifted a Lego Technic Bugatti Chiron set. The real car has a top speed of 261 miles per hour, and the Technic car is an eighth of the size of the real thing. So what was Donut's goal? Well, they wanted to match the top speed of the real car to scale with the Lego version, which came out to 32.6 miles per hour. So they dropped the car off at a local model store and let the experts go to work. A week later, the gang went to pick up the car and were greeted with a fully functional Lego Bugatti RC car. So there was just one thing left to do. Take it to an open area and let it rip. Remember, the goal here is 32.6 miles per hour, but it definitely isn't going to be easy. Lego cars aren't meant to go this fast, but with the right mods, it just might be possible. They gave the car a little push, then cranked it up to max speed, and to everyone's surprise, right before it wiped out, it smashed their goal, reaching a top speed of 41 miles per hour. I guess it makes sense why it ended up in pieces right after that. If you scale this speed difference to a real Bugatti, it'd be going 328 miles per hour, which is more than enough to make it wipe out and completely destroy it. This car looked like it was on fire, but have you ever seen real fire in a Lego build before? Well, if you haven't, allow me to introduce you to Aaron. Way back in the day, this guy made his own Lego Dragon set. And get this, he made it look like it was breathing fire. He documented everything on Flickr and YouTube, so not only do we have pictures, but we actually get to see it in action. This thing is basically just a giant lighter. All you have to do is pull down a lever that's fully incorporated into the build, and boom, fire comes straight out of the dragon's mouth. If you're looking for something a little more intense, there's also this dragon made by Circon Coral. In my opinion, this one isn't as cool just because you have to use a lighter to make it breathe fire, but once it's going, it looks super sick. For this next experiment, let's jump back over to the wild side and get dangerous. Just a little over a year ago, Jamie's Brick Jams changed the definition of a Lego gun with his Lego coil gun. The title of this video is super accurate. To be honest, I think this thing would be outright illegal, and once you see what it's capable of, you'll see what I mean. But before that, let me tell you how a coil gun works. Basically, if you take a coil of wire, put a magnetic metal close to it, and apply a strong current, the metal moves really fast. So Jamie's goal was to perfect how this magnetism gets applied, make it into a gun, and use Lego for the entire thing. Besides the coil and the metal, of course. There are tons of variables that go into something like this, and they're all way above my pay grade. So if you're interested in the technical parts of how this works, go check out Jamie's video. All I know is that by the end of the video, the coil gun was a complete success, and the result would honestly be a little scary if it was in the wrong hands. The ammo was going straight into Coca-Cola cans and clementines, but it wasn't able to break apart a Lego wall. Okay, I take it back. As long as it can't take down some bricks, I guess we can call it barely legal. But what about experiments we can all do at home? You know, like the ones we did way back in elementary school. Well, a super easy one you can do at home is a density test. Since every Lego piece is a different size and weight, they all have different densities. So if you put a bunch of random pieces in water, some of them will float and some of them won't. I actually talked about this a little bit in my biggest Lego mysteries video, but how can you test Lego density in your house? Well, this experiment by Tomny Technetium is perfect. All you have to do is get a nice sized bottle, then fill one half of it with salt water and the other half with alcohol. These two liquids are very similar to oil and water. They don't mix. So when you drop some Lego pieces in the bottle, they all float in the middle. This on its own looks super cool, but this is where the fun begins. If you shake the bottle for a few seconds, the liquids will emulsify, which basically just means they're mixing without combining. After this, the lower density pieces will go to the top, and the higher density pieces will fall to the bottom. And as the liquids separate themselves again, the pieces will slowly meet back up in the middle. It's a fun little experiment if you're really bored, but if you want something more hands-on, then you should try the classic egg drop. Only this time, you're trying to keep the egg safe with Lego. Brick Science actually tried this out about 4 years ago, but decided to put a fun twist on it. Instead of just making one build to protect an egg, he made 3 different ones in 3 different amounts of time. The first one had to be done in just 1 minute, so he ended up with this really weird tire protector, and it completely failed. The next one had to be made in 10 minutes, which gave him a little more wiggle room. For this one, he made what he called a vertical satellite that fully relied on the build landing vertically. Unfortunately, this didn't help, and the egg cracked open anyway. For the third and final build, he had an hour to work with. Plenty of time, right? Well, it turns out that making something that can protect an egg from a 20-foot drop isn't so easy if you're just using Lego. This time, he used a bunch of Lego Technic parts and made it almost look like a weird sea urchin. The idea was to have the poking pieces be shock absorbers, so the egg doesn't take the brunt of the fall. It was a super good idea in theory, but in practice, not so much. Another fun experiment that's super easy to do at home is the classic volcanic eruption. Since you'd be using Lego, it's actually way easier than the usual one, with all the newspaper and glue and whatever else people usually use to make them. This experiment was posted by the Idaho National Laboratory on YouTube, one of the many laboratories in the United States that focus on energy. You can build a volcano however you want, but there are 5 things that you absolutely need: red food coloring, vinegar, baking soda, dish soap, and a glass small enough to fit into your volcano. The first step is to pour some baking soda in the cup. This is the main ingredient that makes the volcano erupt. Next, you just add some red food coloring to the vinegar. This is what's going to give the lava that red color. Then put a small amount of dish soap into your cup with the baking soda in it. Then pour your red vinegar straight into the cup. And watch your Lego volcano erupt. Maybe you're looking for something that'll last as long as your bricks do though. So for that, I present to you the magic of tensegrity. This is by far the easiest way to make a cool floating decoration without using magnets. The key here is that you have the right tension pulling something up, but also pulling it down. To do it with Lego, you'll need to use any pieces that have slack, but the possibilities are honestly pretty endless. You can build a structure whose whole point is that it's floating in midair. You can build a sculpture that looks like it belongs in a modern day art museum, or you can use it with sets that are already built, like what this person did for the Lego DeLorean from Back to the Future. There are loads of examples all over the internet, especially YouTube. So if this is something you want to do, you easily can. But there's some Lego stuff that I want to test out for myself. So for the first hack, I'm going to be making a Lego phone stand. Letting your phone sit flat on your desk is super boring. So instead, I'm going to make a stand for it out of Lego. That way I can always see the screen and be able to charge it at the same time. The stand itself is pretty easy to make, but one thing I have to be careful of is making sure the cable is high enough off the desk so I don't bend it when I'm charging my phone. To build it, I'm going to be using these pieces on screen. And just like that, I have a Lego phone stand for my desk. Lego can actually be really useful for random stuff like this. Like, I have all of these toothbrushes all over my bathroom sink, so I'm gonna make a cup to hold them all together. To build it, all I'll need are these pieces right here. Great, now I can actually brush my teeth. No way my toothpaste is that empty. Wait, I actually might be able to make something for this. Hold on. Oh my god, no way that actually worked. I didn't even plan on making a hack for toothpaste, but I guess since it worked, that's hack number 3. For hack number 4, I'm gonna be making a tripod type stand for my phone. I'm definitely going to be using this to record videos in the future, so if you want to make your own Lego videos, follow along and I'll show you how to make the stand. To make it, these are all the pieces you'll need, so just pause to write them down. Start by connecting the 4x12 plates like this to make your base, then put it off to the side. Next, use 22x4s to make a leg. Do this 4 times and put a plate on top of one of them. Then you'll end up with 4 legs that look something like this. Next, connect them to the base. Then put 2 2x8s in the middle and add 3 2x4s on either side of them. After that, stack up 12 2x4s like this and attach them in the middle of the tripod. Now the base is done, so let's make the part that holds the phone. First, connect a turntable to a 4x4 round plate. This is so satisfying. Then connect 2 4x4 plates, 1 2x14 plate, 3 2x6 bricks, and 4 2x4 bricks on top. Put that to the side, then stack up 7 2x2s and 7 2x1s, and then put them to the side too. Then go back to the holder and attach 1 2x6 plate to the edge of the turntable, and stack either a 2x4 and a 2x2 brick on top, or a 2x6 brick if you have one. Then attach a brick separator, a 1x2 plate, 2 1x2 bricks, and a 1x6 plate across all 3. Then get your stacked 2x2s and 1x2s from before, attach them on either side, put a 6x6 plate on the bottom, and connect the two together. Then you'll have your very own working Lego phone tripod. Oh, and just in case you've been confused this entire time, you don't connect Lego bricks like this. You do it like this. Got it? Great. Now that you know that, you have to make sure you can actually find the right pieces. And I'm guessing most of you are like me and just have a giant pile of completely unorganized bricks. But there's actually something that can help with that. It's an app called Brickit, and what it does is scan Lego pieces and find the ones you need. So if I scan this pile here and ask it to find 1x2 bricks, it finds the right pieces super fast. It's so good at its job that the pieces don't even have to be facing the right way for the app to find it. Like, it found this one and you couldn't even tell it was there. This app can do something way cooler than just find pieces for you though. Once it scans every piece in the pile, it can actually generate sets you can build with the pieces you have, and it even gives you instructions. And before you ask, no, this video is not sponsored. I just think this app is really cool. Since I'm talking so much about scanning stuff, I might as well show you one last one, but this one's for the Lego insiders. Have you ever noticed these QR codes on instruction booklets? Well, if you download the Lego Builder app and scan these codes, you'll earn insider points just for scanning. I'm definitely going to be using this with every set I buy from now on. Okay, I've gone over hacks that can help with random everyday life stuff and ways to make building with Lego easier and more fun. So I think it's time I show you some minifigure hacks. And it turns out that some of them are pretty cursed. For the first one, you can use any regular minifigure, but you'll also need one of these giant keychain minifigures too. Now, obviously, one of these guys is way bigger than the other, but for some reason, their armholes are the same size. Because of this, you can actually put the small arms on the big minifigure and big arms on the small minifigure. Pretty cursed if you ask me. These next few minifigure hacks aren't really cursed, but they definitely use some illegal building techniques. We all know that a minifigure's arms can't be moved very much. Like, you can literally only swing them in 2 directions, but with this hack, you'll be able to put them in positions you've never seen a minifigure do. To do it, all you'll need is a minifigure, a small rubber band, and 2 crowbar pieces. First, take your minifigure apart, completely. Then take your small rubber band and shove it through the armhole until it comes out on the bottom. Then use one crowbar piece to feed the rubber band through the other armhole and pull it through with the other crowbar piece. Once that's done, it should look something like this. Very flattering, I know. But now you can wrap that rubber band around the arms and put them in some crazy positions. There's this one, this one, this one, this one. I could basically go on forever. This hack is especially good for all the stop motion animators. It'll definitely make your video way cooler. Anyways, there's one last minifigure hack I want to show you. Minifigure hands are made to be super grippy. Obviously, they can grip stuff like lightsaber hilts, poles, and weapons. But did you know they can also grip tile pieces? As long as it's completely flat on top, it fits perfectly in a minifigure's hand, which is pretty sick. All of these hacks have been pretty good so far, but one of the most useful pieces Lego's ever made is the brick separator, and it can do way more than what Lego shows you in the instructions. Let me show you what I mean. If you spend all your time building Lego like me, odds are you've run into this problem a lot. How am I supposed to take these apart? Or this one. This is literally going to take forever. Or this one. Yeah, I'm not even going to try this one. Or worst of all, this one. Steady. Steady. Every time. If you try and solve any of these problems with a brick separator, it seems like they'll never work, especially if you're putting stickers on. I mean, why would you even use a brick separator for that? Well, funnily enough, it's actually really good at doing just that. All you do is put the end of the sticker on the separator, then slowly apply it. It's way easier than using your fingers. We all know what happens when you do that. But what about this abomination? Taking it apart with your fingers is basically impossible unless you want to break your nails. And if you try to use a brick separator, it fails miserably. So how do you do it? Well, all you have to do is use more brick separators. No, seriously, look at this. If you put one brick separator on the bottom, one on top, and wiggle them around just enough, you can take these plates apart pretty easily. As for all these tile pieces, well, Lego actually shows you how to do this in the instructions. But here's the thing, they're wrong. I know. I'm literally saying that the people who made the piece don't know how to use it. But just hear me out. If you do it how Lego tells you, yeah, it works, but it takes a really long time. Instead, what you can do is flip it over, drag it underneath every piece, and take them all off in one fell swoop. So do you guys want your tomatoes back, or... There's still one last problem though. The big plate piece. If you have one of these on a baseboard like I do right here, it can literally be one of the most difficult pieces to take apart in all of Lego. Doing it with your fingers is sometimes possible, but it's usually pretty painful. And since the piece is so big, the brick separator just doesn't work. But if I've learned anything about this little piece over the years, it's that if one doesn't work, more than one definitely will. Yeah, knew that wasn't gonna work. All right, let's try 2. Yeah, okay, I kind of figured. 3rd time's the charm though, right? Okay, this is getting a little ridiculous. Okay, there's no way 4 doesn't work. Yo, are we serious? 5 absolutely has to, right? Okay, thank God. But if for some reason you don't have a brick separator, you can always try using a penny. It only really works on the tile pieces though. After trying out all of these hacks, you probably have a giant unorganized pile of bricks, like the one I scanned earlier in the video. But there are a couple super easy hacks to stop this from happening. Whenever you buy a new Lego set, instead of just dumping out the stuff in the box and throwing it on the floor, what you can do instead is cut it open and use it for storage while you're building. I made mine by taking a box cutter to it and cutting it on 3 sides. After that, I had a super easy place to keep the bags with all the pieces, and it literally came with the set. But if you've just been doing random stuff like I have in this video, this won't work unless you have a time machine. So sometimes what I like to do instead, especially if my bricks are all over the place, is just take a sock and put them all in there. Then after that, I can either dump the pieces out on my desk and organize them, or just dump everything in my Lego bin. But wait a minute, my desk is super unorganized. How am I ever supposed to organize Lego on this? The phone stand still looks good, but there's random stuff all over the place. I'm just gonna go ahead and make something for this right now. Let's clean this up. Okay, these next 2 hacks are gonna be about Lego maintenance, because displaying Lego really is a lot of work. For starters, if you plan on putting any minifigures on display, you'd probably want to put them on 2 studs, right? I mean, it just makes the most sense. But you don't actually want to do this at all. The heels on minifigures' legs are known to crack if they get left like this for too long. So instead, you can use a panel piece and put the minifigure on that. That way, it'll stay in place and you won't have to worry about the legs cracking. Another super annoying thing about displaying Lego is dust. Unless you have a giant glass cabinet, your builds are probably just sitting somewhere in your room. And if they're just sitting there, then I guarantee you they're dusty. Obviously, we don't want to take a vacuum cleaner to a Lego set. This is so scary, dude. So what you can do instead is just not let them get dusty. I'm kidding. All you need to do is get your hands on one of those makeup brush things and then use it to dust your Lego set. Hey, Mom, do you have like a makeup brush I can use?
A makeup brush?
Yeah, it's for a Lego video.
Oh yeah.
Okay, thank you. It works really well, so you might want to keep one of these in your inventory, even if you don't wear makeup. If you thought this was all Lego could do though, guess again, because this Lego keyboard is gonna blow your mind. It's basically a combination of real keyboard parts and Lego bricks. JK took the circuit board from an old keyboard he had laying around, put it inside a brick-built frame, and made the keycaps out of Lego. That way, the keyboard sounded and felt just like a regular mechanical keyboard, but still looked like Lego. In the video, he breaks down all the little details of how the keyboard came to life, like the little archway for the cable slot, and the other brick-built elements to divide the keys into different sections. I'd love to have this at my gaming setup, if I could type without looking at the letters. I guess I should work on that at some point. Up next is another insane Lego arm, but it's nothing like the prosthetic ones from the last video. This is a working bionic arm, made with the Mindstorm's EV3 set, and I have to say, this thing is super impressive. People have made a ton of different builds with the Mindstorms theme, since the entire thing is based around robots, but this arm is the best one I've seen. Once you build it, all you do is slide it on your arm, and your fingers make your new Lego arm move. Now, honestly, I can't think of a whole lot you could actually do with this arm. It looks really sick, but I don't think it's strong enough to actually use for anything. But I can't say the same about this Lego drone. This was made by the Brick Experiment channel, so you already know it's gonna be a banger. And they absolutely did not disappoint. The motors, propellers, and frame are all made out of Lego, and the only non-Lego parts are the battery, radio receiver, and flight controller. So basically everything you need to make the drone actually fly. Like usual, the amount of coding and stuff I just don't understand was pretty prevalent in this invention. But the fact that something like this is even possible with Lego is pretty crazy. Unfortunately though, not every Lego invention is this successful. Sometimes the idea is there, but the actual execution ends up being way more difficult. Something like this happened with the Lego snowboard that Brick Science made a few years ago. Like I said, the idea was really good, but building something that can handle all the weight of a human being, be smooth enough on the bottom to glide on snow, and not break through any of it is pretty difficult. Surprisingly enough though, none of these things seem to be a problem. The only thing that was holding back the snowboard was the fact that if there wasn't a trail laid out for it, it would just stop dead in its tracks. Oh, and since there are no footholds, it's literally impossible to turn. So it wasn't the best invention in the world, but it wasn't bad either. The drink cooler he made though was the exact opposite. Let me show you how this thing works. Basically, he needed to make a water pump out of bricks and motors that would pump water onto a spinning soda can in the container he built for it. I know I'm jumping ahead here, but just stay with me. The pump would be connected to a plastic bin filled with ice water. That way, the drink would get super cold, super fast. The container he made for the drink was also made really well, which was imperative for this invention. He built a spot at the bottom to hide the water tray and the pump, then made a mechanism that spins the can so the drink gets cooled evenly. Before the cooling, it was at 76 degrees, and after just 1 minute in the cooler, it was like it just came out of the fridge. This is definitely one of the most useful inventions I've seen with Lego, but sometimes it's the unuseful ones that are the most fun. We all know what dominoes are, right? You set them up, tip one over, then watch the rest of them fall. Well, JK Brickworks completely defeated the purpose of dominoes with this infinite domino ring. I mean, the entire point of dominoes is that they fall and you have to set them up again. But with this machine, they quite literally just fall and pick themselves back up forever. After setting up the initial frame, JK put a domino on top and this triangle-shaped Technic piece on the bottom. This piece was very loose, so that way it could be flung up to put the domino back in place once everything was up and running. And it did just that. Once the invention was done, it literally could have been turned into a 10-hour YouTube video like the ones Mr. Beast used to make. But if there's one invention in this video that I just have to show you, it's this Lego exoskeleton. First of all, the video for this thing feels like one of those videos a villain makes before their big invention turns them evil. The quality, how old it is, I feel like it really does give off that vibe. But all that means is that the invention itself is absolutely insane. Professor Bricks was able to make an exoskeleton for his upper body that was connected to a little robot. And of course, it was all made using Lego. When he moved his right arm, the robot moved with it. And when he moved his left arm, the robot moved again. Not only that, but it also had working joints. The elbows and wrists bent, and the arms could even be turned to the side too. Something I haven't covered yet though are dangerous inventions. I definitely had a few in the last video, so let me show you one in this video too. This is a Lego lawnmower made by the Brick Wall on YouTube. I've shown a Lego lawnmower in a different video, but that was just for show. This one actually cuts the grass. The thing is though, the only reason it's able to is because the brick wall attached razor blades to the end of the propellers. This is unbelievably dangerous, especially if they aren't attached very well. So don't even think about trying this at home. Because of these blades, it was able to mow grass pretty well. First, he tested out one blade just to see if it would work, which it did. Then he tested out both blades, which also worked. But the big test was up next. The brick wall dropped the mower straight into the deep end and tried to have it mow the lawn just like any other mower. And even though it was super slow, it did actually work. I don't think anyone would ever use this over a regular lawnmower. But hey, this one's made with Lego, so let's just appreciate how sick that is. Wait, I just realized something. Remember before when I said that the bionic arm was the coolest thing I've seen built with the stuff from the Mindstorms theme? Well, I lied, because the #1 spot just got taken by this Lego Spaceflight arcade game. I've seen a few Lego arcade games in my day. Lego themselves even released a Pac-Man set not too long ago, but none of them are quite like this one. This invention was not only made with 100% Lego, but it actually works. Like, you can play the game. The way it works is you move this spaceship from left to right and try your best to keep it on the track. If you can't, you lose. But how is this even possible with LEGO? Well, it's all because of the Mindstorms theme. With the intelligent brick from EV3, the builder was able to code a color sensor and attach it to the bottom of the spaceship. So that way, it would know if it was on the right color or not. I haven't even covered the fact that all of the controls for this game are with LEGO. But honestly, the fact that the game actually works is way cooler than that. Let's keep the robot train going with this LEGO robot that brushes your teeth for you. This one was made by Dental Digest on YouTube, and according to the guy who used it, it actually worked a lot better than he thought it would. But honestly, there's no way I'd ever use this thing. It's not for the reason you think though. Somehow, the 1,300 pieces that are used to build it cost over $2,000. This is an absolutely insane amount of money, especially for a toothbrushing robot. But let's see if it's even worth it.
This thing's amazing!
The whole thing is powered by an EV3 motor, and is actually very gentle when it brushes.
It's actually surprisingly gentle.
It goes in this weird up and down circular motion, almost like an oval. The one thing I don't get though is how you're supposed to brush your molars. Like, am I just supposed to stick the toothbrush back there and let it do its thing? I can't lie, there's no way I'm doing that. I think I'll just stick to doing it myself. If there's one invention I'd use in a heartbeat though, it's this LEGO Iron Man missile launcher made by Brick Science. And the best part is it's nowhere near as expensive as this robot. Basically, all of the work is done by a little spring in the back of the chamber. And once you hook it up to a mechanism in your hand and release it, it'll start flying. The thing is though, the whole point of it is that it's on your arm. So if you don't have an arm piece custom made to fit to your arm, you either gotta get to work or completely forget about it, because this part is essential. The whole thing took Brick Science about 10 hours to make, which is definitely nothing to scoff at, but it was all worth it in the end, because look at how fast this missile shoots out. This is like Nerf gun level quality, and it's not even remotely made by them, which is pretty cool. Not every invention has to be some weird weapon, toy, or remote control vehicle though. Sometimes they can just be funny. In 2018, some random kid uploaded a video of a LEGO cuckoo clock to his channel. It's his only video, and it's literally just a 30-second clip of the clock cuckooing. There's absolutely nothing telling us how it works at all, but honestly, I just think that adds to the joke. I know it's been a while since he posted it, but go show this kid some love on his video. Maybe he'll want to do an update video if he gets enough views. Anyways, the next invention has to do with food. I don't know why, but some people love mixing food into their LEGO inventions, like Astonishing Studios' custom Pizza Hut, KFC, and Taco Bell build. This thing was meant to dispense real food, so obviously that had to be provided. But the amount of insane details in this thing is genuinely crazy, so I'll try my best to show them off without taking forever. First off, all the food in this build costs a different price, which can all be seen on the little screen up front. The minimum price is €2, and if you try to put anything less than that in the coin slot, it rejects it and spits it back out at you. Once you put in that minimum price though, whatever food you choose will move on a conveyor belt and be dropped into a little pull-out bin, almost like a vending machine. There's also a spot for change on the bottom left, and since this thing can literally read coins, it can definitely give you change if you give too much money. The last thing I want to tell you about this build though is the 2 combination safe. The way you unlock it is by spinning the 4-color knob counterclockwise until you hit red, then spin it clockwise until you hit blue. Then the safe opens. This part of the build is super clever, and honestly, I didn't even know something like this was possible using just LEGO pieces. You know what? This just made me want to show you a LEGO safe. So let me show you this blue and white one made by Edificator LEGO on YouTube. This one is a pretty good size. Like, it can hold a watch super easily. But of course, since this is a safe, it's impossible to open without a key. And yes, the key is made entirely out of LEGO. All you have to do is put it in the slot, and the safe opens. But this key looks really weird. So how does it actually unlock the safe? Well, it's way simpler than you might think. All it does is lift 5 axle pieces out of place, which lets you slide them over and open the door. See? Easy peasy. Another invention that's super simple like this, once it's made at least, is this LEGO dog feeder. The clip for it is literally 8 seconds. The dog walks up, uses their paw to press the button, and voila, dinner is served. In theory, this is the most simple invention ever, but since it uses an intelligent brick from EV3, we know there was a lot of coding involved. However, there's one main problem with an invention like this if you don't code it correctly. Dogs love to eat, like they literally can't stop themselves. So if this intelligent brick doesn't have set times that it's allowed to dispense food, the dog could just get as much food as it wants, which would definitely not be good. I hope for this little guy's sake that that's not what happened with their feeder. Anyways, switching gears, the next invention I want to show you is this Braille printer that actually went super viral when it was made in 2014. Back then, a standard Braille printer cost around $2,000, but with the intelligent brick from EV3, some Lego pieces, and a few things from Home Depot, this 13-year-old was able to make one for right around $350. All you had to do was pick a letter on the intelligent brick, and it would immediately start printing it out in Braille. The invention was not only covered by other YouTubers, but PBS NewsHour even did a segment on it back in 2014. Seeing as how Lego is trying their best to branch out into the world of Braille, this is something they should definitely come back to, even if it is over 10 years old now. But did you know that people use Lego to set world records? From speed feats to giant towers, and even the farthest distance traveled by a Lego minifigure. You won't believe how crazy some of these records are. In 2021, a woman named Gabrielle Wall set the record for the fastest 100-meter barefoot run over Lego bricks. She did it in 24.75 seconds, which honestly doesn't sound that fast, until you remember she did it running barefoot on Lego bricks. I don't know about you, but stepping on one brick makes me want to cry. So doing it for over 100 meters straight is actually insane. But like I said in the intro, this isn't even the craziest barefoot Lego record in this video. Before I get to that though, have you ever seen a life-size drivable car made entirely out of Lego? Because that's exactly what Lego and Bugatti did in 2018. They built a life-size replica of the Bugatti Chiron using over 1 million Lego Technic pieces, and the best part is that it actually drives. They tested it out and got it up to 12 miles per hour, which I know isn't that fast, but you have to remember, this thing is made entirely out of Lego. The fact that it can move at all is crazy, let alone driving at a speed faster than the average human can run. This build took over 13,000 hours to complete and weighs over 3,300 pounds. The engine is made entirely out of Lego Technic motors. So yeah, this thing is 100% Lego from top to bottom. No metal framing, no real engine, just Lego. This is genuinely one of the most impressive things Lego has ever been a part of. And it really makes you wonder what else is actually possible with these plastic bricks. So now that we've seen what it can do with engineering, let's talk about something way simpler, but still just as impressive. Height. Now, obviously, when you're a kid, one of the first things you do with Lego is try to build the tallest tower you possibly can before it falls over and you have to start all over again. So it makes total sense why there would be a world record for this. The current holder is a tower in Milan, Italy, that's over 114 feet tall. To put this into perspective, that's about as tall as an 11-story building. They used over 550,000 bricks to build it, and it took over 4 days to complete. The thing is, though, this record gets broken pretty often. Before Milan had it, the tallest tower was in Tel Aviv, and before that, it was in Budapest. Each time someone breaks this record, they can only break it by a few feet. So it's really just a competition of who can stack bricks the highest without their tower tipping over and ruining everything. If you thought that tower was big though, just wait until you hear about the biggest Lego model ever built. In 2013, Lego built a life-size replica of the X-Wing starfighter from Star Wars in Times Square. And I'm not kidding when I say this thing was massive. It's 42 feet long, 44 feet wide, and weighs over 45,000 pounds. They used over 5.3 million bricks to build it, and it took 32 people working full-time for 4 months straight to finish it. In case it still hasn't hit you yet, let me put the size into perspective for you. This thing is about as long as a semi-truck and weighs about as much as 4 fully grown elephants. When you look at pictures of it, it doesn't even look real. It looks like someone photoshopped it into the picture. But nope, it's 100% real. This is the kind of build that makes you realize Lego isn't limited by its size. It's only limited by how much time and money you're willing to spend. Clearly, these builders put in a ton of time. But what about people whose goal is the exact opposite? There are people out there trying to speed run Lego, like what people do in video games, only it's putting together a giant pile of bricks. This has been done for countless sets, but the 3 main ones I want to tell you about are the UCS Millennium Falcon with 7,541 pieces, the Titanic with 9,090 pieces, and the World Map, which has the most pieces out of any released Lego set, at 11,695 pieces. Sets that are this big take days or even weeks to build, depending on who's doing it. But Ivan Yu, Sebastian Hayworth, and Cooper Wright all built their sets in less than 10 hours. These are all insane accomplishments, but let's start with the Millennium Falcon and work our way up in pieces. This record is held by Ivan Yu from Ontario, Canada, and he built the set in just 7 hours, 36 minutes, and 37 seconds. An insane runtime, but it gets better. Sebastian Hayworth holds the record for the Titanic, and at just 15 years old, he built it in 8 hours, 42 minutes, and 12 seconds. But the craziest speed build record of all is held by Cooper Wright. At just 13 years old, he built the world map set in 9 hours, 14 minutes, and 49 seconds. That's only about 40 minutes longer than Sebastian took to build the Titanic, and that set has 2,000 less pieces than the world map. Clearly, Cooper is on a completely different level when it comes to speed building. The amount of mental fortitude you need to build the world map that fast is out of this world. But if we're going to talk about mental fortitude, I have to tell you about the record set by Sonny Molina. But before that, you have to know who he is, because he isn't just some regular guy. Sonny's made it his life goal to collect as many world records as possible, and he's actually doing pretty well. He likes to set records that he knows no one else can beat, like owning the biggest collection of Pringle cans, and most half marathons ran barefoot on consecutive days, which he did 20 of, by the way. Genuinely crazy. Like I said, Sonny isn't just some regular guy, so it's no surprise he holds the world record for the longest distance walked barefoot on Lego bricks. Gabrielle holds the record for the fastest 100-meter dash, but that was over in 25 seconds. Sonny, on the other hand, walked over 5.5 miles on Lego bricks completely barefoot in May of 2021. I can't even imagine how much pain he was in by the time he was done. But the crazy thing is, he had already broken this record twice before doing it again in 2021. I don't know what level of determination this guy has, but clearly it's off the charts. Sonny's pretty psychotic when it comes to world records. So let's talk about something a little less brain-melting: the biggest Lego collections. Just like speedrunning, people hold world records for all sorts of collections. So to keep things simple, I'm just going to show you two: the biggest minifigure collection and the biggest set collection. The person with the most minifigures in the world is Steven Van Dyke. He set this record in 2023 and had 11,803 minifigures to his name. Apparently, his collection got so big that he couldn't even keep them in his house anymore. He beat the person with the previous record by over 2,000 minifigures, so he definitely has this spot secure. But the record for the most sets collected might be even cooler. It's held by a Czech man whose name I will absolutely butcher, but he's been collecting Lego sets since he was 5 years old. I'm not sure how old he is now, but clearly he's a grown man. So he's been collecting for a really long time now. His collection also got too big for his house, but he wanted everyone to be able to experience his collection with him. So he opened the first museum of bricks in Prague. Now, I will say, both of these records come from Guinness World Records themselves, but there's someone out there who actually might have broken both of them: Duck Bricks. He posted an updated collection video about 6 months ago, but unfortunately, I am not watching all that. So if any of you remember the exact amount of sets and minifigures he owns, let me know down in the comments. Moving on though, people don't just collect minifigures, sometimes they put them on display, like our goat from the Czech Republic, which leads us to our next world record: the biggest permanent minifigure installation. This record is held by the Minifigured project, and it was set all the way back in 2006. It's based on one of the most famous buildings from the Industrial Revolution, called the Amaskag Milliard. It's located in Manchester, New Hampshire, and because of how famous it is, people wanted to honor it in its hometown with the most famous toy in the world. So they took over 8,000 minifigures and an unbelievable amount of bricks and made the building in minifigure scale. It took them 10,000 hours to build it, which started in 2004 and ended in 2006 when they set the record. The original building could hold up to 17,000 people, so it really was the perfect building to recreate in Lego. That is, if you're trying to set a world record. Now, this next record is held by Lego themselves, which is a little unfair, but it's still really cool. Back in 2019, Lego employees put together the biggest Lego Star Wars minifigure display ever made using only Stormtrooper minifigures. And the best part is they made it in the shape of a Stormtrooper's helmet. It was 20 feet tall by 20 feet wide, and when it was all said and done, they'd used a grand total of 36,440 minifigures. That's more than Steven's and Duck Brick's minifigure collection combined. 12 people made this record happen, and it only took them 38 hours to build it, which is really impressive. However, it's not as impressive as these next few records, because these are some of the weirdest and most awesome Lego world records ever set. The first one is the biggest Lego Great Ball contraption ever made. If you don't know what these are, think of the game Mousetrap, where a ball is constantly on the move through different obstacles. Then completely forget about it, because this ball contraption is way bigger than a board game. The record was set by Mako Arts back in 2018, and their contraption had 259 different modules. If that makes no sense though, just look at how long the video is on YouTube. It took the ball 40 minutes to make it through the entire contraption. Imagine being the guy who had to film all that. They used all sorts of mechanisms, like stairs, conveyor belts, and elevators to keep things interesting, and it definitely worked. The people who made this clearly know a thing or two about engineering, but this next record requires a lot less brainpower, because now I'm going to tell you about the longest chain made with Lego bricks. And no, I don't mean a chain like the ones rappers wear, I mean a literal line put together with Lego bricks. The record was set back in September of 2014 in California, and with the help of 447 people, they made a Lego chain that was over half a mile long. They had to use over 190,000 bricks to build it, but because of how many people were doing it, the record got set in just 6 hours and 53 minutes. The reason so many people were involved was because the event was a part of a charity fundraiser for a state-of-the-art special needs playground called the Rotary Dreamcatcher Playground. It was a pretty big deal in the community, so Lego was the perfect way to bring everyone together. Since people made a chain with bricks, you already know someone had to do it with minifigures too. But the story is actually pretty adorable. In June of 2025, 10-year-old Tyler Recht in Rye, New York wanted to set the record for the longest chain of Lego minifigures. But the thing is, this record didn't even exist. He wanted to be the first and only person to make and hold this record, so he got to work. With the help of some friends and family, Tyler made a chain of 1,816 minifigures on the local high school track. Since he was the first person to do it, there was a chance that Guinness either wouldn't see his chain or wouldn't acknowledge it. But that definitely didn't happen, because Tyler officially has his very own world record on the Guinness website. Congrats, my guy. Anyways, there's one last world record I want to show you, and if you thought Lego holding one was unfair, get ready, because this one's held by NASA. Yeah, the space program that's funded by the US government has a world record with Lego. And funnily enough, you might already know what it is. Back in 2011, NASA launched the Atlas V rocket on a trip to Jupiter. Their plan was to drop a satellite named Juno into the gas giant and watch the footage it captures before it inevitably goes offline. It took 5 years for the rocket to finally get there, and when it did, everything went according to plan. Juno got sent into Jupiter, they got some cool footage, and Atlas V came back. But that still leaves the big question: how is Lego involved in this, and what's the world record? Well, NASA holds the world record for the farthest distance traveled by a Lego minifigure, because on board Juno were 3 minifigures made out of space-grade aluminum. Lego gave them to NASA because they're friends, I guess, and because of that, there's literally no way anyone is beating this record in our entire lifetime. But what crazy thing surprised you the most in this video? Be sure to let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.